we are going to continue the Faction Wars tier list series, and we are going to be doing the Dark Elves faction. I'm going to try to do this quicker. I don't want to read too much skills like I usually do. I want to discuss the importance of the champions in Faction Wars. So yeah, let's do it. So Astrolith is going to be the first champion. I do have her pulled up over here. So her A1 is actually top tier for Faction Wars. She attacks one enemy and fills the turn meter of a random ally by 15%. And she fills the turn meter of all allies by a further 15% if the attack is critical. With 100% crit rate, she is very good. And then also her judgment abilities, it looks pretty good because she has a passive effect on it. So she gains an extra turn and decreases the cooldown of the skill by 3 if her HP drops below 20% when attacked. That can actually come in clutch. And I do not like that she actually has a bomb on her kit for Faction Wars. So I don't think she's top tier. I think she's going to be an A tier for Faction Wars. The next champion is Blind Seer. So Blind Seer, I'm going to say that Blind Seer actually has to be an S tier champion. Her A1 ability actually decreases turn meter by 15%. It's a triple hit. And then each hit, it can actually decrease turn meter. It's kind of like a Lure, but Lure's is more consistent. Dark Shroud, she also plays block debuffs, which is very important in Faction Wars. And then she also plays a shield equal to 30% of her max HP for 2 turns. Definitely amazing. And she can also revive all dead allies to 35% HP. And then she places the block damage buff on all allies except herself for 1 turn. So definitely top tier champion. She's going to make it a cakewalk if you actually have her. So she's going to be an S tier. All right, so Captain Tamila is next. I think she is definitely an underrated champion. She is extremely good for Faction Wars. Her A1 can actually help you out with passive heals, with a continuous heal. She has an ability that can increase defense on all allies for 2 turns. And then she heals all allies by 15% of her max HP. And she's HP based. So that's going to be a pretty big heal. And she also has ally protection. So she is actually an S tier in my book just because of the heal and the ally protection. Which is amazing for Faction Wars. Cold Heart, she has a triple hit on her A1. I don't have to look at this, man. I know what she has. Triple hit on her A1. She has an AoE ability on her A2. And then her A3 ability is what made her famous, which allows her to decrease the target's turn meter by 100%, while also dealing damage based on enemy max HP. So she's very good for Faction Wars, although she is very squishy. All right, so next up we have Crimson Helm, who's also an underrated epic champion. And she's very good for Faction Wars. So she has decreased attack on her A1. She has a quadruple hit that attacks at random. It can also place Provoke. And she also has Revive on Death, which can actually come in clutch if you're trying to get those 3 stars on the stage. And can also place increased defense on all allies. I think that she's a little bit below these champions, so I'm going to place her as an A tier. I don't like that she has a random Provokes. If she had a consistent AoE Provoke that's very reliable, she would actually be an S tier. But for that reason, she's going to be an A tier. So Delver is up next. So she's one of those champions that you probably don't even know she existed. I always forget about her. She has heal reduction on her A1. She has a weaken on her A2. If the target has heal reduction, kind of makes her worse. And she also has an AoE that places increased attack on herself before attacking. I don't like her kit at all. So she's not really going to help out too much in Faction Wars. Maybe in terms of damage, if you're missing some damage, then I'll put her as a mid tier champion for Faction Wars. All right, so next up we have Eviscerator. She has a double hit that she has a weak version of poison if the attack is critical. AoE decreased defense, but it's a weak version. And she can attack an enemy with the default skill whenever they are healed or receive a buff. So I don't really like her kit. I think she's a mid-tier champion. All right, so Fang Cleric is up next. If somebody doesn't have Blind Seer, I think Fang Cleric is the second best choice for this faction. He actually has a Revive ability that can fill the turn meter by 30%, also place Unkillable and Continuous Heal. And then she also has a heal on his A2 ability. So if you guys want a more in-depth review on Fang Cleric, I actually have a video on him. You guys can check it out. So he's going to be an S-tier champion. So he's going to be like a budget Blind Seer for this faction. All right, so Foley is up next. So he has a quadruple hit on his A1 with decreased defense. He has a quadruple hit again on his A2 that places Leech. And he also has an AoE ability that decreases turn meter on the target enemy. And then enemies killed by this ability cannot be revived. Passive ability. He heals himself by 20% of his max HP and boosts his turn meter by 50% when an enemy places stun, freeze, sleep, or provoke on him. And then he immediately removes all of these debuffs. So I personally, I don't like Foley. That's just the way I feel. I don't really like Foley. He leaves a bad taste in my mouth from the past of what happened. But Foley Fusion fiasco, if you guys have heard about that. But yeah, he's going to be an S-tier champion for Faction Wars, even though I don't like him. All right, so Ghostbourne is up next. Ghostbourne is very good. This ability, he attacks all enemies, and he has 75% chance of placing decreased defense for 2 turns, and the debuff cannot be resisted, so that means you don't have to build one with accuracy for this ability. And he also places increased attack for your allies. Yeah, so that ability alone makes him an S tier champion for Faction Wars. All right, so Harvester is next. She's not very good. I wouldn't recommend using her. And that's all we're going to say about her. So Heart Piercer, same thing. Don't use Heart Piercer. Hexweaver is actually going to be a surprising one. She's actually a pretty good support for Faction Wars. She has a AoE heal over here. Heals by 15% of their max HP. She can also boost your allies' speed as well as crit rate. And she also has decreased accuracy on her A1, but it is a weak version. So I guess she is pretty solid. She has a good aura skill in Faction Wars to increase ally speed and faction crits by 13%. Yeah, I think that she is an A tier for Faction Wars. All right, so Judge is up next. He has a passive ability. With each hit, he has a 30% chance on placing decreased accuracy, decreased speed, decreased accuracy, or decreased speed, or decreased attack, or decreased defense. So it's not very consistent. His A2 ability attacks all enemies 2 times, fills his turn by 10% for each critical hit. So this ability is his only redeeming ability, and his damage increases. On his A1, his damage increases by 10% for each debuff on the target, stacking up to a maximum of 100%. So this champion seems like he has potential, but for Faction Wars, I think he is mid. So he's going to be right here, mid tier. Good news, Kale is a very good champion. He's a starter champion. If you guys don't know who Kale is, you guys play Raid Shadow Legends. So Kale is S tier champion. All right, so Kayden is a champion I do not have. He's defense based, damage based on defense. I love that. He has a provoke on his A1, but it is a relatively low chance to land. A2 ability actually places decreased attack on all enemies, which is very important because it makes the enemies deal less damage to your team. And then he actually has a revive, so he revives 2 random allies with 50% HP. Will also place increased defense. So he's a new champion. I do not have him, and I believe that he makes Faction Wars very easy. So Kayden is going to be an S tier champion. So Lanakus is up next. You guys probably don't need me to say anything, but she is an automatic S tier. She has continuous heal, and she can also call allies to attack, also filling the turn meter of all allies by 30%. So definitely she's an S tier champion for Faction Wars. Makes it very easy. All right, so now we got Lua. Everybody knows her from being a very good damage dealer. So this ability is like, to me, is the best ability for Faction Wars that she has, but it's on a very long cooldown. Hail of Ailors attacks all enemies 3 times. Each critical hit heals this champion by 2.5% HP. So she's going to be an S tier. So next up is Luria. So for these 2 abilities, attacks all enemies with a freeze and a block revive, and has an ability that removes all buffs, also placing block buffs. So these 2 abilities are actually going to make her an S tier champion for Faction Wars. Don't use Lurker. She is not good. This is kind of stupid, but Lydia is an S tier. I'm not going to talk about her because she is actually the Faction Wars final reward, which is funny. But she's an S tier for Faction Wars as well. Madame Ceres is S tier. She has AoE, decreased attack, and decreased defense, which is amazing. And she also strips buffs with that ability. This champion is going to be don't use. Mystic Hand is mid tier. Painkeeper, I think that she is S tier. You can actually decrease the cooldown of your allies' abilities while also healing them with her A2 ability, and her A1 actually boosts her turn meter. So I built her with a Relentless set, and she's amazing with that. Paragon is interesting because he actually has an ability that places unkillable, but that's the only good ability that he has. If you want to get 63 stars, I think he is usable. I think he's higher than that because that ability is very strong. So I'm making him a mid-tier champion for Faction Wars. All right, so Silar is up next. I actually don't have this champion, so that's the reason why I'm looking over here. She can actually place decreased speed on all enemies for 2 turns, while also decrease the turn meter of all enemies by 40%. I don't need to say anything else, but I'm going to, but she is definitely an S tier. She has an AoE attack that places decreased accuracy, while also an AoE on her A1. She's going to be an S tier champion for Faction Wars. Queen Eva is up next. I'm going to put her as an S tier as well. She's a very good damage dealer with AoE abilities. Ray, definitely S tier. She can strip buffs while also freezing enemies. AoE decreased defense. She's definitely S tier champion. This champion is going to be a don't use. I don't know her name, but I know she's don't use. Same with her. Warden, I think he's mid tier. Obviously, you can use him if you can make it work. Rian the Conjurer, I've actually talked about him before. He's actually an S tier champion, but I don't know how many people actually have him. Rule the Huntmaster, so he is very cool looking. His A1 ability has decreased defense, also transfers a random debuff from him to a target's under Hex. So he's like one of the only champions that actually has Hex in his kit. AoE attack that places an extra hit on enemies under Hex. Will ignore 25% of each target's defense if there are 4 more enemies under Hex. Passive ability decreases the speed of enemies under Hex by 5% and decreases the resistance of those enemies by 10%. He also increases the damage enemies. Oh man. Yeah, so I'm not going to read much else about him, but he is an S tier champion for Faction Wars. She's a don't use. Spider is actually S tier champion for Faction Wars. He has an AoE decreased defense as well as a weaken on the same ability. And it's not a hit, so you can't get any weak hits. I've done a guide on him if you guys want to check it out. All right, so Spirit Host is very good. I'm going to show you which ability is very good on her. Spirit Host, free-to-play champion. I believe she is farmable as well. The reason being is this ability removes all debuffs on all allies and places block debuffs buff on all allies for 1 turn. That ability is very strong. She also has a big version of increased attack for all your allies. And she can also heal herself by 50% of the damage inflicted. So she is very good. She has a universal aura skill. But I don't think that she's S tier. I think that she's A tier. Steel Boyer is mid tier. If she was how she was before the nerf, she would actually be an A tier champion. Vizix. So Vizix used to suck apparently, but now she is very good. She has an AoE provoke. She has ally protection. She has decreased turn meter in A1. Definitely very good champion, and that's good news because she is free to play. Vizier, unfortunately, Vizier is not that good in Faction Wars. Say he is mid tier, but he's amazing in other areas of the game. Wanderer is going to be usable if you can make it work, and I'm actually going to drop Steel Boyer. She's actually very bad after the nerf. She's going to be usable if you can make it work. Zavia is going to be S tier. She is an amazing champion for Faction Wars. She has AoE poison. She has an AoE ability that does more damage if enemies basically pops all the poisons at once, and if they get killed by this ability, they cannot be revived. And then she also has a triple hit that places poisons or A1. So yeah, I believe there are 43 champions in the Dark Elves faction, and 26 of them are top tier. So 26 out of 43. So 26 out of 43, so more than half of the champions. I would say 25 out of 43 since Lydia is hard to get. And maybe even Ryan. Ryan's hard to get as well. So we're going to have to drop it. So we're going to have to drop it to 24 out of 43 of them are top tier in Faction Wars. So hopefully this tier list actually helps you guys get Lydia the Death Siren and get 63 stars in the Dark Elves Faction Wars. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe. If you guys like the video, make sure you guys drop a like. And as always, I want to thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next video.
I'm Tyrone. I need everybody to subscribe to the homie Ali Al Plays. And that's non-negotiable either.